Welcome to Thriving Thursday. Today we're going to talk about one of the easiest, most credible way to create content, and that's by using interviews. It's the easiest way to create because all you need is a Zoom account and someone to interview. And there are a lot of different ways we're going to talk about that you can do this today. It's not only using a Zoom account, but it's a way to build credibility, to build joint venture partners, and to really shine in the area of knowing your stuff. So connecting with influencers, it's an audience introduction. So not only are you introducing them to your audience, but you're being introduced to their audience as well. So that broadens the base of who you're actually reaching now. Now, one of the things I'm going to tell you is you don't have to go out and get someone huge to be on your interview process. It's great if that person is a couple steps ahead of you, but make sure that whatever you're doing, whoever you're connecting with, will really resonate with your audience. Recently, we had a client who she was connecting with big influencers, and it was fabulous, but her topics were so all over the place that her audience wasn't really connecting. So make sure that these are people who will absolutely resonate with the same message that you have and your audience. You can do this a lot of different ways. One of the ways is is podcast. Podcast is weekly content that you can touch people with that's informational. You have those interviews, and it's a way to connect without being really salesy. Another way is radio. Radio is a little bit harder than the podcast. So podcasts have a lot of setup involved. You have to set up artwork in the beginning. You need intros and outros. And by the way, when you have those intros and outros, the outros should always have a call to action on a podcast. With the radio shows, unless you're someone really big and well-known, you're probably going to be paying for those radio shows. And one of the downsides is that it's hard to really gauge how much of an audience you're connecting to unless you have next steps that people are biting into. So unless you're sending them to a quiz or a community on Facebook, but you really lose visibility unless you have a dedicated URL that they can go to that you can gauge how many people are actually coming from the radio show into your platform. So that's really important, as well as it's a little bit more expensive to use this sort of platform. Video, post on a YouTube channel. You can do Zoom interviews all day long. You can do Facebook interviews and scrape them and put them over on YouTube as well. Facebook Lives. Facebook Lives are a fabulous way to do interviews. In fact, they're even a fabulous way to push the button and bring people on that are just in your community to engage as well. So having those Facebook Live, the coolest thing I think about Facebook Live is it's kind of like Vegas. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. What happens on those is really crazy sometimes because you don't know where they're going to go. That doesn't mean it stays in Vegas, but it's authentic, it's humorous, and it just goes wherever. You can also build extra SEO with all of these things. Google will reward you with more traffic and a higher Google ranking, search engine ranking, if you have a blog that's over 1,500 words. Now, it's really difficult to sit down and write something like that every single week, but it's really easy to have a podcast or Facebook Lives or any of those mediums we just talked about and transcribe them. It's easy to transcribe, add pictures, a little bit of verbiage, make it into a blog, and put that on your website as well. So you have to remember when you're teaching people that people are different kinds of learners. There are going to be people who learn from video. There are going to be people who learn from writing. So if you can provide both of those on your site, it's actually a plus because you capture all sorts of learners. And remember, if your funnel isn't built out fully, you're leaking clients and revenue. And we never want to be in a position where we're doing that. See you next week on Thriving Thursday.